Get ready to see Charlie Kirk absolutely humble a cocky college student. Guys, this is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's a great example of this phenomenon we often see, unfortunately, in human life where somebody thinks they're just quite a bit smarter than they actually are. Many such cases, folks, many such cases. So this is a great and shining example of that. It's going to be funny, and you guys are going to like it, so we're going to get right into it. But first, everybody, do me a huge favor here and like our video, share it around, and if you are new, subscribe to the Resist Mainstream YouTube channel so we're keeping you guys this great content. And for those of you who are returning subscribers, thank you so much, and welcome back. As always, everybody, I'm your host, Darian. Let's get into the show.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your service, Miss Gabbard, for anything. I just have one question related to the election for you. How can you endorse someone who lost the last election fair and square? There's no evidence.
Let him finish, guys.
Republican secretaries of state claimed it was fair. Trump tried to leverage the Georgia Secretary of State, Brat, Raffensperger. He said, find me 11,700 votes. He has no respect for losing in our system, and what happened on January 6th happened on January 6th. A disaster. Our capital got stormed for the first time since 1812. You people claim to love America. Like, how does that not fire you up?
You're brainwashed. All right, so it's a fair question. So let's talk through a couple elements of this. First, do you think the CIA should involve itself in American elections?
No.
Okay, so it did in 2020.
Show me proof.
Okay, well, Tulsi Gabbard knows this. She could tell you 50 intel officials colluded, led by Tony Blinken, due to declassified emails, signing an open letter calling the Hunter Biden laptop
So
Russian.
why weren't any of the lawsuits
Let me finish.
successful?
I did not. Hold on.
He raised plenty of them.
Hold on a second. I didn't interrupt you, right? So let me finish. 50 intel officials, current and former, signed a letter that was used to censor on social media the fact that there is a laptop owned by Hunter Biden that showed very suspicious and criminal activity by both Hunter and Joe Biden. According to the Media Research Center, 1 out of 4 voters in swing states would have changed their vote if they would have known about the Hunter Biden
That's
laptop.
an utter ridiculous statement to make.
I just cited it.
He lost by 7 million votes.
Well, hold on. No. He lost by 42,000 votes across 3 states. Hold on, pal. How much did he lose Arizona by?
Okay.
Hold on. How much did he lose this state by?
It's not about the final score. It's a winner and a loser. He lost.
No,
that's how our system works.
We have an electoral college system.
Yeah.
So
who got the electoral votes?
No, of course Biden did. But what was the margin in Arizona?
I don't know.
It was 10,000 votes.
Not in the back of my head.
Yeah. So how much in Georgia?
It was 11,700. That's what they told Raffensperger to find
And
him.
in Wisconsin, it was
a Republican
Let
who
me
denounces
finish.
them.
And in Wisconsin, it was 21,000, right? So it was actually 42,000, not 7 million.
The Hunter Biden laptop point is obviously a good one. It is a prime example of trying to influence an election for unfair reasons. I think anybody who is reasonable would agree with that.
So when you're talking about the CIA and the Department of Justice signing a letter that was then used to, I did not have my Twitter account for 30 days. We were not allowed to mention the Hunter Biden laptop.
Because you violated a private company's privacy.
Well, no, actually, I didn't.
Guidelines.
It's actually
yes, you did.
No, because of the Twitter files, thanks to Elon Musk, we now know the FBI told Twitter to say you are not allowed to mention the Hunter Biden laptop. Am I correct in this, Tulsi?
That's correct.
And
so you don't trust the FBI at all?
Well,
People who have
not at all.
devoted
No.
their life to civil service.
That's a red herring. I'm saying in that instance, Yoel Roth. Do you know who Yoel Roth was?
I don't know.
Yeah,
who Yoel
okay.
Roth
Yoel
is.
Roth was the head of security, trust, and safety for Twitter that had what's called a standing room meeting every Tuesday with the Federal Bureau of Investigation in San Francisco, where they met about Russian threats to American interference of elections, and they said this laptop is not allowed to be discussed on your platform. That impacted our election. People made their decisions differently in 2020, not knowing the full picture that this laptop existed, and that was the October surprise. So you would agree that that's not a fair election.
You think the laptop would have...
Aside from the obvious that this kid is totally uninformed, has no idea what he's talking about. I mean, just look at the Yoel Roth example. He has no clue who he is. He has no clue that Twitter was meeting with the FBI. He arrogantly shrieks at Charlie Kirk, "Show me your proof." Oh, I don't believe that, even though it's totally common knowledge to anybody who, has a brain, common sense, and the ability to actually research things and think for themselves. There is something I think that is a bit more telling here. That guy very obviously is in favor of censoring and crushing his opposition or enemies, as he probably views it. Just notice what he said when Charlie Kirk says he got censored. Instead of saying, well, something to the effect of, well, that's not right. You shouldn't be censored. I may disagree with you, but you have a right to express yourself. He just says, well, you violated the private company's terms. Ha ha ha. That's what you get. That's First of all, that isn't true. Second of all, let's just say it was true. Why should that be allowed or tolerated in a society where we practice, at least in theory, freedom of speech? Why should a company like Twitter be able to say, oh, I don't like what you're saying, let me just go ahead and cut your tongue off real quick? The answer is, of course, they shouldn't be allowed to say that. They should be forced to hold First Amendment protections. And this is where a lot of conservatives are getting a little bit of rant here, I know, but it's important. A lot of conservatives get this wrong, all right? Because a lot of them will sit here on these stupid, made-up bullshit principles where they talk about, well, you know, it's a free market. It's a private company. You got to let them do whatever they want. I may disagree with them censoring people, but it's their right. No, okay? This is the world's largest public square, and it ought to be treated as such. It's also a case of monopolies or oligopolies at best. And at the end of the day, you can't have a free market if some kind of corporate dictator is ruling at the top, essentially acting as if some kind of government body of sorts, while not actually technically being one. No, that is not acceptable, and we cannot accept that in our society. And people say, oh, Republicans, conservatives can't do this, whatever. Nonsense. Teddy Roosevelt, all right, arguably a great president in many ways. What did he do? Well, for one, he broke up big oil and the railroads. Well, isn't that anti-free market? Well, they're private companies after all. Why didn't you just let them completely rule and control America? But private company, right?
That's not a fair election.
You think the laptop would have flipped the election for him?
Well, we're talking about 42,000 votes in 3 states, and I already cited a study that 1 in 4 swing voters would have changed
study? By who?
The media research.
Clarence Thomas is Winnebago buyer? Like, who funds these?
I just said by the independent, nonpartisan Media Research Center, where they said 1 out of 4 voters would have changed their opinion. So I just want to make sure we're clear, though. You agree our government should not interfere with our elections.
Well, they have to regulate them by nature. That's... The states have to.
Well, no, hold on.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have an election because you need rules and a judge.
Interfere. So should the federal government be able to restrict our speech during elections?
Well, when you have what happened in 2016 where Russian disinformation spreads all over Facebook and other platforms, then you have...
It's a lie!
So wait,
it's not a lie.
So the answer is obviously yes. He's just too chicken to say it and admit it. Let's be real.
It was not a lie. Read the Mueller report. Another Republican.
You realize
respected.
The Mueller report found that there was no tangible collusion between Donald Trump or the Russian Federation.
It wasn't about, but hold on. It wasn't just a collusion thing. It's a 430-page report.
I want to try to find common ground here, okay? I want to try to find common ground. Can we agree that 2020 was decided by very few votes?
No, because it wasn't.
Well, 42,000 votes is very few, right?
No.
So what is the percentage of 42,000?
It's not about... George Bush and Al Gore were as close as ever in 2000. Al Gore conceded, said, you know what, I lost. There might be a challenge.
Hold on,
because he cared about the good of the country.
You know, Al Gore brought it all the way up to the Supreme Court, man, and he said that Bush was not the duly elected president.
And he could have gone further because...
How do you go further than the Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court sent it back to judgment in the Florida State Supreme Court again, and Gore said, no, I'm not doing that. Just move on, Bush is the president. For the good of the country. Because people used to care about our country.
No, and of course, so are you trying to imply Trump doesn't care about the country?
Yes, that's absolutely what I'm implying. You think...
bullet for the country!
You think he sits in his gold room in Trump Tower and thinks, oh, how can I make things better for everyday Joe?
Well, I certainly think he does so more than the so-called respected Republicans that you're sitting here talking about. Something you'll notice about left-wingers is whenever they talk about a Republican who's respected or whatever, first of all, let me just get this off right off the bat. That's a totally propagandistic way of talking and speaking and thinking. Well, he's a respected Republican, and he agreed, so you ought to too. Yeah, that's not really an argument, okay? That doesn't tell me why I should believe or disbelieve something. It just tells me that somebody who's convenient for your agenda and narrative agreed with you, and so I have to listen to you now? Yeah, it doesn't work that way. By the way, when we're talking about respected Republicans, I've seen the media wax on and on poetically about how, oh, why can't George Bush come back? The respected Republican, George Bush. He was so much better than Trump. I would support him if he was in office. You'll hear liberals say this all the time. They don't actually mean it, by the way, but let's just say they did. What is there to respect about George Bush exactly? Was it starting this disastrous Iraq war that killed thousands of American soldiers, killed many more Iraqi civilians than that? Is that what we're supposed to sit here and respect? Is it the fact that the Bush family were one of the biggest donors to Planned Parenthood? Are those the Republicans we're supposed to sit here and respect? Yeah, no, not going to work with me.
So let me ask one thing, and I'd love to have Tulsi. Just help me understand. So his business empire has been taken away from him. He's facing...
Yeah, because he broke the law.
Can I finish my thought? He's finishing 700. He's facing 700 years in federal prison. He's been shot once with multiple assassination attempts. Why keep running for president if he doesn't love the country?
Because 100 years from now in a history textbook, it's going to say Donald Trump's name, and that's what motivates narcissists.
This guy is huffing and puffing something because he has an overdose of TDS.
Look, I will say this. I hope you do some research because
I've done my research. You need to do your research.
Look, I will say this as kindly as I can. One day I hope you open your eyes because you've been significantly brainwashed on this topic. And I guess the final question I'll ask is this. If Donald Trump wins in 3 weeks, will you accept that as a legitimate result?
Yes.
Okay, I'll hold you to
That's
that.
the difference between me and you.
Okay, did Trump win in 2016?
Yes.
But you said that Russian interfered.
Russian interference had a role in the election, but Trump won fair and square. He had more votes and more. And notice
which
how
one is it
Hillary supportors didn't storm the Capitol.
Well, no, hold on. Hillary never conceded.
She did.
No, hold on.
She had a concession speech the day after the election. I watched it in middle school.
Hillary Clinton said Donald Trump was not the legitimate president of the United States.
That's one milked clip that is played all over the internet. Yeah, she had a concession speech. When's the Trump concession speech in 2020? Show it to me.
Let me ask you one more question. Are you voting for Kamala Harris?
Yes, I am, proudly.
What's her greatest accomplishment?
Her greatest accomplishment? I would say that she's going to legalize marijuana federally, something that's been overdue by 100 years.
So, first of all, she locked people up over that same offense and then laughed about it and joked about it on the Charlemagne Breakfast Club, said she was listening to Tupac and Biggie in college while smoking weed. By the way, quick little caveat here that's important to mention. Tupac didn't come out with his first album until after Campbell graduated college. So, clearly she was lying. But that aside, what's with all these grass heads? Just this obsession. It's weird. It's either marijuana, this green leaf, or the ability to end the life of your own infant without any repercussions because you just want to sit there and have unprotected sex with no consequences. Do we have anything that we actually care about that's meaningful or decent for our nation? Or is it just a bunch of selfish pleasure-seeking actions without the consequence? I don't know. Kind of crazy.
Thank you.
She said it.
Well, everybody, that wraps it up for today. I hope you enjoyed the clip. I know I did myself. It's always fun to see somebody who thinks they're much smarter than they actually are get knocked down a few pegs. So not that he needed that, but anyways, just a joke. With all that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. As always, please be sure to comment below. Let us know what you liked about the clip, what kind of stuff you want to see next, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks, and God bless.